You need to kill this boss, and it's really hard. So today I'm going to show you how to do exactly that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am Felrus, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends today. And guys, we are going to be defeating the Celestial Griffin as the Doom Tower boss. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Here we go. All right, so the team that we are going to be using for this boss is going to be Calamitous Ninja, Korugar Deathbell, Grand Oak Padrake, and Elva Autumnborn. And we're going to see why I use this combination of champions as we go over the boss's kit. So he has some really interesting moves, and this is actually a hard boss because he ramps himself, and there's no way to undo it. So he ramps every turn with this Sky Bond mechanic, right? So let's start with his passive. So first, the Celestial Bond passive adds one Sky Bond buff to the Griffin at the start of each turn. Also adds one Sky Bond buff to the Griffin whenever an enemy's HP drops below 50%. So what does the Sky Bond do? Each Sky Bond buff increases the Griffin's attack by 5%, crit rate by 3%, crit damage by 5%, and speed by 2.5. So basically he ramps. He ramps and he goes faster, right? He's gonna hit you harder every single turn. Will ignore shield, block damages, unkillable buffs when the Griffin has 10 or more Sky Bond buffs. Can stack up to 20 Sky Bond buffs. Sky Bond buffs cannot be blocked or removed. Real quick, click the link in the description to get a free Bambus as well as Ugo at level 15. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. This is where you'll find your free Bambus as well as Ugo at level 15. This gives you an insane start in Raid Shadow Legends, so click that link and let's crush this together. So yeah, he's gonna ramp every turn. He's gonna hit you harder every turn. So basically, you have to kill this boss before he kills you, and we're gonna get to strategies for that in a second. He also has the Fair Wind passive here. Whenever the Griffin's turn meter is decreased, the turn meter of all enemies will be decreased by the same amount. Places a stun debuff for one turn on enemies with fully depleted turn meters. So if you try to run any sort of like turn meter control on this guy, he's just gonna slap your entire team with whatever turn meter depletion effect you used. Whenever an enemy's turn meter is filled, Griffin's turn meter, it's Grithian? I thought that was Griffin. Okay, Griffin's turn meter will be filled the same amount, occurs once per enemy turn. Turn meter increase are tracked and counted individually for each enemy. So if you try to fill your turn meter, he's gonna fill turn meter too. Now this isn't as dangerous as the turn meter depletion. However, it is still a problem if you don't want to get those Sky Bonds stacked. Okay, he also has the general almighty strength. Damage from skills that scale based on enemy max HP cannot exceed 10% of the boss's max HP when attacking the boss. Almighty persistence, all turn meter reduction effects are decreased by 50% when used against this boss. And then Almighty Immunity, immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, block active skills, block passive skills, fear, true, fear, petrification, berserk, and enfeeble debuffs. Also immune to HP exchange effects, HP balancing effects, and cooldown increasing effects. All right, so and then the Divine Strike here attacks an enemy whenever their HP drops below 50%. This attack places a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. So as you can see, just from the passives alone, that's half his kit. And you really want to prevent your champs from dropping below 50% HP. So we're going to get to how we do that here in a second. So his actual skills: Death Gust removes all buffs from all enemies, then attacks all enemies. The buff removal cannot be resisted. Damage increases by 10% for each buff removed. So this is always his opener, the Death Gust. So you don't want to have any buffs, right? And then he's just gonna nuke you, right? The Rock Smash, the A2 here, transfers all debuffs from Grithian to each enemy, then attacks all enemies. Fills Grithian's turn meter by 5% for each debuff transferred. Now with both of these, you just want to be careful about what skills you use when. Yeah, so the buff removal can't be resisted on this Death Gust skill, so you can't bring high resistance champions to counter it. You want to open with your debuffs and then place your buffs. And then on the A1, attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn. All right, so what exactly do we need to do? Well, we need to prevent everybody from dropping below 50% HP. We need to kill the boss before he gets too many Sky Bonds, and we need to make sure that our own debuffs don't get thrown back at us. So that's what this team is designed to do. So we've got Calamitous here. Calamitous is going to actually be our debuffer, as well as one of our main damage dealers for the waves. He has this Horde of Calamity, attacks one enemy 4 times. Each has a 20% chance of inflicting, extra 20% chance of inflicting a critical hit. The first hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense. Each subsequent hit will ignore an additional 5% of the target's defense. First hit places block buffs for 2 turns. The second hit places a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. The third hit places a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. The fourth hit places a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. So as long as you have a drop defense, a weaken, and a decreased speed, I think you should be fine with this boss coming in. Calamitous is just super nice because he has it all on one skill, on a single target, and against a single target boss. That is perfectly amazing. And again, you want the decreased speed because the Sky Bonds not only ramp his turn meter and crit damage and attack, not only his crit rate, crit damage, and attack, but also his speed, right? So a drop speed is super helpful. We've got Elva. So Elva's main job is going to be keeping us healed up with this Scepter of Thriving A1. Attacks one enemy, places a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP, as well as the Leaf Shroud passive heals each ally by 10% of their max HP at the start of their turn. Places a Perfect Veil buff for 1 turn on the ally with the lowest HP at the end of this champion's turn. She has a revive on her A3. Sprouting Season revives a target ally with 40% HP and 50% turn meter, then places a 60% increase defense buff and a 50% increase attack buff on that ally for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, which is nice. And then also on a 3-turn cooldown, has a 75% chance, books to a 100% chance of removing all debuffs from all allies, places a block debuffs buff and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. So this is, because of the block debuffs, she can actually open with this. She's in a protection set, so we don't necessarily have to worry about the buff removal. And then that way, when the Griffin tries to transfer all the debuffs, our team can just tank it, right? Our team can just tank it. But we do have a team preset for this. We'll get to that in a second. So we've got Ninja here. Ninja is like a boss-killing champion, right? He's a boss-killing champion because of this Hail Burn, which attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 75% chance, books to a 100% chance of placing a HP burn debuff for 3 turns. Also places a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 2 turns. When used against bosses, will instantly activate any HP burn debuffs, including HP burn debuffs placed by this skill, right? So he has a huge max HP boss-killing skill there, so he does need accuracy. On the A3, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. That does book to a 100% chance. When attacking a boss, will only attack the boss, not all enemies, and will ignore 50% of the target's defense. Will also decrease the cooldown of the Hail Burn skill by 1 turn, which is super cool. And then the A1 Shatterbolt attacks one enemy, has a 45% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. That books up to a 60% chance. Also fills this champion's turn meter by 15% when used against bosses. This is the thing we have to worry about with Ninja, because he's going to boost the Celestial Griffin's turn meter as well. All right, finally we have, as part of our damage team, right? So Ninja and Calamitous and Padraig here are going to be doing the most damage. We have Padraig because of this weird Spore ally attack. So on his A1, Snake Root attacks one enemy, has a 25% chance, books to a 50% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random ally's active skill by 2 turns. And then on his A2, Weird Spores on a 4-turn cooldown, fully booked, teams up with all allies to attack a single enemy. The allies joining the attack will use their default skills. Also fully restores all allies destroyed max HP, and places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. On his A3, Inspiring Rhythm on a 3-turn cooldown, fully booked, fills the turn meters of all allies by 20%, then removes all debuffs from all allies and places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. And then his passive here is super cool as well. Grand Oak's Magic on a 1-turn cooldown. At the start of this champion's turn, places a buff on each ally for 1 turn, depending on their type. Attack, a 50% increased attack buff. Defense, a 60% increased defense buff. Support, a 50% increased accuracy buff. HP, a shield buff equal to 30% of the allies' max HP. And the final champion on the team, this is the champion who's going to keep us from dropping below 50% HP. You guys know him. You guys love him. It's Korugar Deathbell. On his A1, Strange Animus attacks one enemy, heals this champion by 10% of their max HP. On the A2, Bell's Toll on a 3-turn cooldown, fully booked, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance, books to a 100% chance of filling the turn meters of all allies by 30%. Also has a 75% chance, booked to a 100% chance of removing all debuffs from all allies. It's a super nice cleanse, guys. It's a super nice cleanse. Then on the A3, on a 3-turn cooldown fully booked, Conduit of Agonies places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Also places a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns. Super sweet. And then his passive is kind of underrated as well. Violence Locus increases this champion's resistance by 20 and defense by 10% for each ally protection buff on allies. Also increases ally resistance by 15 and defense by 5% for each ally protection buff on allies. If there are multiple champions on this team with this skill, only one will activate. Counterattacks whenever an ally under an ally protection buff is attacked can occur once per enemy turn. So basically, his entire job is to keep your team tanky, keep himself nice and healed up, and do some cleansing and turn meter boosting as well. So we obviously need a preset for this team, right? And so here's what we've got. We've got Calamitous to just nuke the waves, right? And then he is going to first choice the Necroclism, but open with the A1, okay? Open with the A1. Then Ninja is just going to open with the A1. It's his first choice. He doesn't use it on the waves. Elva has no preset. Korugar has no preset. Grand Oak Padraig doesn't use his ally attack, but he does open with it on the boss. Very simple preset, very simple champions, very simple strategy. I think you could probably use Mithrala in place of Korugar for a lot, just as long as you have some S tier protection champ. I think you'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so we go in, we metamorph, cool stuff. Calamitous just gonna take out the waves, right? He's gonna come back into his first form for the boss, which is gonna be really good. He goes in with the Final Testament. There's the Cyan Slash from Ninja. Awesome. Okay, so now we've got the ally attack there from Padraig. We do have to be careful about Ninja's A1 placing debuffs, right? We do have Evil Eye on Padraig, which is why he got the stun, right? Okay, so we tanked the first hit. There's Ninja's Hail Burn, right? Doing Hail Burny stuff. Yeah, we do need to get back into the first form on Calamitous there. Not sure exactly what's going on here, but here we are. And that's the other thing with Korugar. This is why we need to be tanky, because all the turn meter fill on this team will ramp the Skybond, right? Will ramp the Skybond. All right, so we've got Elva there, removing the buffs. We can still tank it. We're still good. Decrease the cooldown of Elva. Okay, then we go in with the drop defense and weaken. We've got our blocked debuffs up, so we don't have to worry about any of that being transferred. Cool. And then there's the Hail Burn again from Ninja. Ninja is really doing like all the work in out nuking this boss here. He's just making sure that we kill him before he kills us. And max HP damage is a fantastic way to do that. You do not want to try to outlast this boss. It will not work. It's probably like one of the worst things. You have to out nuke him. And Ninja is just it's a free and affordable champ for a lot of you guys. I'm sorry if you don't have him. Maybe use like a Royal Guard or a Husk instead. Someone else who can do max HP damage. And to be fair, Ninja doesn't do strict max HP damage. He activates burns, right? But burns damage is based on max HP, which is why I say that. And we're going to have absolutely no problem clearing the highest level on this rotation of Doom Tower, the Celestial Griffin. Yeah, let me know what teams you guys use in the comments below. I think this is a pretty fun team. And there we go. Ninja for the win there. Ninja for the win. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends today. Hope this was helpful. I will see you in another video.